Marge Schott in 1996 basically had to sell her baseball team because everyone was sick of her crap. She came out in an interview, I think said Hitler was a good guy or something like that.
It's almost like if you're giving somebody something, it's because you feel like they earn it. And then something happens later on down the road and you're like, you know what, that thing I gave you? Well, let me take it back.
Somebody should put a straight jacket on this guy.
You need to sit back and just listen. Welcome to the Triple Shot Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Combs, joined as always by the one and only Wayne G. How's it going, buddy?
Not too shabby.
All right, well, we have a great show lined up today. We're going to talk about a lot of topics, including sports teams changing their names. We give our predictions on the NBA. But before we do that, I do want to introduce our guest for the day. He's the creator of Sports Soup page on Facebook, and he's the self-proclaimed soup boss. His name is Chad Lounder. How you doing, Chad?
No, doing good. It's not just self-proclaimed; it's the truth. So that's the difference, though. So, but I'm pumped to be on, guys. I really appreciate it. Yeah, just a quick little bit of background. Sports Soup is a sports page on Facebook, a small group but passionate. And recording podcasts has been something that I've dabbled in a little bit here, and we've continued to look at being able to do some more on that end. And so my whole goal is, bring sports to the table, everyone have a good time, everyone that's passionate about it, debate, talk, but let's just talk sports. That's what we're here for. We love it, and that's what I do. So Sports Boss is just the truth, and I like to run with it. That's all.
All right. Wayne's the guy who claims that he's never wrong and never lost a debate, and you're the soup boss or sports boss, so I guess I'm in trouble here.
I actually usually claim that I'm a 97% victory percentage because I have lost a couple and I have admitted defeat when it's happened. I think the last time was like August of 93, but it's been a while.
I don't know. I think you lost like 4 segments in a row last week, so that's debatable.
Just because you say it doesn't mean it's true.
That's why it's 97. It was 99.9 until last week, and then he dropped it to 97.
Oh, okay,
so
perfect.
I got
perfect.
you back, Wayne. There you
I
go.
like that. I like the way that sounds. I like you already, Chad.
You're on a losing streak, though. I'll just remind you of that.
All right, well, let's get to it, boys. I wanted to start the show out by talking about something that is currently going on in sports. It's the name changes for teams associated with Indians. And to be honest with you, if you ask me, the stuff's getting crazy out of hand. People complaining and asking for the stuff to change. Most of them aren't even Indian. I don't know where this ends. I mean, you have the Redskins, whose logo was created by a Native American, and it's a symbol of respect to them. Then you have the Cleveland Indians, the Atlanta Braves, the Kansas City Chiefs, and I swear to you, if they touch my Chicago Blackhawks logo, I swear to you, I am going to riot. That uniform and that franchise are so respected. Their uniforms are always talked about as the best uniforms in hockey. I mean, what's next? PETA's going to come in and ask, why don't we take the names of animals off of teams too? We're not going to be able to have the Bears or, where do we draw the line? Are the Cowboys going to have to change their name because they misrepresent white people? I mean, if anything, the Redskins should change their name just so people can forget that they were ever the damn Redskins. I mean, what's going on? I mean, Chad, am I off base here?
Well, I don't know. These are the tricky situations when it comes to sports, right? Because we're not just talking about action on the field. We're talking about how does it influence the social scope of the world around us. And sometimes when people go, hey, it's just sports, just let it be sports. Let's not worry about anything else. I sometimes go back and remind people of just how important sports are when it comes to real life aspects. For instance, 9/11. What sports did to bring the nation back together after such a traumatic event, going on in our nation on a social scale, in all those aspects. It's very important. So people attach, as we're 3 guys right now. I'm sitting in a closet in my daughter's room in order to get some peace and quiet. But that's how passionate I am. I want to be able to talk. People are, attach their passion in life in accordance with the passion they have in sports, and it's a thing that they connect together. And sometimes social justice reform becomes a debate in that, right? So when it comes to these things, as a And what's crazy is I have a great, and I think times the 4 or 5 level grandmother who's a Blackfoot Indian, and she's I've done a lot of research on that. So technically it's in my blood, but if you look at me, I'm the palest Irish white boy that you've ever seen. It's hard for me to sit here and try to stand up and say I'm speaking for Native American rights in these aspects, right? So what do I think? I think in that aspect you go to the source. And so I've been doing a lot of research on this and looking into it. It's something that's been on for years, because as I'm pretty sure you both know, at least on the Redskins side, this isn't the first time this has come up. This has been almost an ongoing debate for some time. And through my research, I'm no more clear than on which way I lean on this, because it seems to be, even in the aspect of the tribal nations, a 50-50 split. You have a lot of people that are saying, well, that's a derogatory term. It's obviously a form of a racial slur. It speaks, down upon the people of Native Americans in what we do. And then you talk to other people who, there was a gentleman on a sports radio station down here in Oklahoma City the other day who said, hey, listen, I went to an all Native American school. We were the fighting tribesmen, and every single one of us would wear something pertaining to a Native American referred to sports team, whether that's the Indians, the Redskins, the Braves, the Seminoles. It didn't matter. We considered it a badge of honor. And so in those aspects, and what was funny is that he actually said in some people, if they just felt like they wanted to piss people off as a joke, they'd wear the Dallas Cowboys stuff as kind of as a joke almost. And so you hear these people that come from that actual world, and it doesn't even seem like they're very clear. You have some people that say, no, Redskin means warrior. It is literally a term that was brought to Native American men and female warriors that were on the front lines of battles from tribe against tribe, and not just when the colonials came to America. It was tribe against tribe warfare, and it's a name of honor. And others have said, well, no, but people have used it in a derogatory way to talk down on Native Americans, and it's really just so hard. So to me, it almost comes down to this. If this is really a situation that there are enough Native American people, because let's remember, that's who this is referring to. If it bothers them so much, where's the line? And that's where I want to know. And I think in listening to some of these things recently, it seems pretty clear that, for instance, Florida State, the Seminoles, there's almost zero desire to touch that, because they're very directly referring to a tribe, and they work very directly with the tribe to ensure that their ways and their culture are not hurt. And in fact, they've said, we want to make sure that we completely choreograph what's done. When the gentleman comes out in the headdress and on the horse, that's all choreographed in accordance with their tribe. The thing I've seen that's been more of a challenge to Native Americans in my research is it's not the names as much as people wearing the headdresses and using symbolic gestures or symbols. Like I heard someone say the chopping that the Atlanta Braves fans do and the chanting they do is far more detrimental to our history than being called the Braves. It's just a completely different thing. And so I almost wish that we're obviously in an interesting time in our world's history, but I just wish we could step back for a moment and go, okay, what's the why here? Let's really have a conversation about it. Is it because it feels like you're either on one end of the pendulum swing or you're not. You got to be over here, over there. There's no middle ground anymore. And I feel like
I get what you're saying with that. My question goes around, like I get where the chop and all of that stuff might be offensive to this tribe or to that tribe or whatever the case is, and I understand that. But the Redskins have been the Redskins for how many years? Yeah. The Braves have been the Braves for how many years? The Blackhawks, the Seminoles, they've been those names for how many years? And now all of a sudden we want to go and change that because somebody might be offensive. I mean, I saw a thing on Facebook where they were talking about, what are they going to change the names to? And then you get all these smart-ass responses. And I mean, I'm not going to lie. I chimed in. I said maybe they should go with the logo of the lady who was calling the cops on all the barbecues in the park with the mullet and the sunglasses on. And they should call themselves the DC Karens.
I was going to say Karen.
Because that's what this feels like to me. This feels like it's just a bunch of Karens out there saying, you know what? I feel bad for the Indians. I feel bad for the tribes. And we have these names and we have these logos and they don't belong there. To me, I'm more offended by the Redskins because of the way they've been run as an organization. I'm not offended by the Redskins by their logo. I have Sioux Indian in me. My great-great-grandmother used to come to all of our family events with a full headdress on. She was 100% Sioux Indian, okay? So these people that are coming forward now, I mean, they did they went to a reservation, and they tried to do a poll on, you know, are these names offensive or whatnot. I can't remember what site it was that I saw the poll on, but I had read this story. And basically what it boiled down to was they really didn't get an answer because they were telling them that they have bigger things to worry about than the name of a sports team. And that's where I'm at with this. These are names of sports teams. I mean, are we really that offended? Like, I mean, what does the name cowboy represent? I mean, you look at cowboys on TV, it's always what? A white gun-toting man with a cigarette or Marlboro in his mouth, and he's got a cowboy hat on, spitting tobacco, whatever the case he's doing. But that's how cowboys are portrayed, and so if you're going to go that route with it, you kind of have to go the full aspect. You can't just go half-assed here and say, well, this is disrespectful to one ethnicity, but these names are okay because it's this ethnicity. And to me, that's what's wrong with everything that's going on in the world now, is that we're going, you know, the ethnicity this and the ethnicity that. We're almost going to a point where we're going back to segregation.
Yeah, and to take that point about the cowboy aspect, when you were describing that, I was like, heck yeah, like that's you know, that's as a man growing up as a boy, you know, riding off in the sunset, shooting off the guns, Marlboro cigarette in your mouth, tough guy, like that was a symbol of something you looked up to be. Like, I want to be tough. I want to grow up to be that type of cowboy type of guy, right? And so for a lot of, again, that's why I go back to these tribes people in terms of what they look at. There's a lot of them that just, like, as you said, either it's, hey, we got bigger things to worry about, or they go, well, no, it's a mark of pride. Or here's the other thing I heard a lot of. For us, it helps us to be remembered. If you take it away, will we be remembered? Or are we going to be forgotten even more? I think it's actually an opportunity that we could utilize it, that instead of saying, hey, let's change the name, let's do something different, let's take the Seminole tradition as an example, and instead, if I was someone in the Washington Redskins ownership right now, where they've had chiefs of many nations there, by the way, who have attended the games and have worn the logo and everything, I would say, we're going to reach out to the tribes and let's do things where they are doing things on field and showing the tradition, and we show honor and respect to them and allow them to be able to be seen, because the fear from them is...
Yeah, that's a great thought, but let's not forget that they're owned by Daniel Snyder. So that's where the problem lies, is that Daniel Snyder isn't that guy.
Yeah.
Daniel Snyder wants to tell everybody to go screw themselves, and they can't have his name taken away, and that's what he wants to say. But his PR guys are like, hold on, wait. Man, I kind of want to go in that direction of the politics, but this is a sports show, so I'm not going there. But I am telling you right now, if they come after my Blackhawks, we're fighting, man. We're fighting.
I think it would actually kind of be funny if you tried to show the tradition of individuals who are, you know, don't tend to have anything to do with a sport like skating, and try to get them out there in the blackout ice to do something with that. So it might actually be funny if they did like a big like fire show and everything like that, and then the ice kind of melted up and it was just a big debacle. But yeah, no, it's here, you'll get to know me if I get to be on this show a little bit more. To me, I live in the gray a lot of times, and I just do not feel there is a 100% right or wrong answer. Because to go with your original point, how far do we go? Because people have made it very clear, for instance, in Florida State and the Seminoles, they're very proud of that. But how can you say then, well, you're going to go one route, but you're not going to touch this route? And I almost wanted to go as far as the Seminoles to see the voices raised up in opposition. Not because I feel that it's 100% wrong, but because I feel like there's two ends of everything that everyone wants to be on. You're either on this end of the pendulum or this one. There's no conversation. There's no middle ground. There's no, hey, let's come to a gathering place and let's come to a compromise. No one compromises anymore. It's just, I don't like this. It hurts my feelings. Get rid of it. Period.
No, absolutely. Whereas you say you live in the gray area, and if we do more shows together and if we talk a little bit more, you'll find out about me that I'm not in the gray area. Like, I feel a certain way.
To piss off more people. All right, good.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you how I feel, but I'm going to tell you how I feel because I've listened to this side of the fence and I've listened to that side of the fence, and I've come to this conclusion that this is how it is. And I listen, like, I get it. Things are offensive. Things shouldn't be said. Things shouldn't be done the way that they're being done. But with everything going on in the world today, the fact that we're focusing and arguing about the Washington Redskins name is, to me, I'm like, what are we arguing about? We have more important things. People will be, the ones who are arguing about this Redskins things are going to be the first ones that go out and say, you know what, the president has more important things to worry about than the things that he's saying on Twitter. Well, you know what? We have more important things to worry about in the world than who the Washington football team's name is. We just do.
Okay, well, so let me counter you and play devil's advocate, though, because like I told you, I live in the gray with a lot of things, because even when I feel like I've made a full-end decision on something, I continue to listen. And so I'm not bringing this up to say I believe differently than you, but let me ask you, though, what about the Native Americans who do say, listen, I don't feel that this respects my people. I do not like this. I feel like it's a name that is improper. It doesn't speak well of who we are. And instead, there's businessmen who are making, to bring up Dan Snyder, making up a lot of money based on this logo and everything, and are not doing anything for us, and it's talked down upon us. And he didn't even do anything when they brought that up. But when FedEx and Pepsi come around and say, well, we're not going to give you any money, like that, all of a sudden he wants to change his tune. Doesn't that even speak more to how much more disrespectful it is to the Native Americans who did step forward and say that it was derogatory towards them?
No, I absolutely get it. It's always about the almighty dollar, right? I mean, when you're talking about taking $62 million away from somebody, you catch their attention. It's just the way that it is. It's the way the world works. And you know, we had this talk in past shows about, you know, white owners and you know, the white, you know, majority, you know, being in the front office and all of that stuff. And trust me, I get it. Things need to change for sure. Absolutely, things need to change. But much like I choose to not listen to certain musicians or wear certain brands of clothing because of things that they've stood for, that's a choice that I made because they did things that I didn't agree with. But it doesn't mean that I have to go and say, hey, Chad, if you're wearing Nike because I don't wear Nike, or if you're listening to Lauryn Hill because I don't listen to Lauryn Hill, you're wrong, and you need to change that. That's not how it is. It's offensive to me. Yeah, it's offensive to me, but it's not offensive to you. So why do you have to change your culture for something that bothers me? And that's where you lose me, is when you say that everybody who is proud to be this and everybody who is proud of this tradition and everybody who has come together, including people of that culture and people of that ethnicity, have celebrated it for years, but it offends a couple of them, that's not, it's not okay. That's not, so if you don't like it, that's fine. Don't wear the colors. Go get Giants uniforms. Go support them because they're their rival. Go against them. Root against them. That's fine with me. But they're not going to change their name. Do the Giants need to change their name because I can't be 6 feet tall?
You just took my Kyler Murray joke right away from me as I was saying it.
All right, now that that's out of my system, all right, we're getting very close to the NBA restart. And last week, Damian Lillard had some interesting things to say about the NBA bubble. So let's take a listen to that.
Telling me you're going to have, 22 teams full of players follow all the rules? Like, when we have 100% freedom, everybody don't follow all the rules. So, I mean, I don't have much confidence, but hopefully, it'll be handled to a point where, like, we're not putting everybody at risk or in a dangerous position.
So, Wayne, what do you think about what Dame had to say?
I completely 100% wholeheartedly agree with him. I mean, it's NBA players. It's professional sports athletes. They're idiots. They're going to be idiots, and it doesn't matter what sort of regulations you put into play. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. May 2019, Josh Jackson is arrested because he tries to get into a restricted area at a concert. August of 2017, Zach Randolph was arrested with possession with intent to sell. February 2017, Matt Barnes is arrested for the third time for a barroom brawl. Now that's breaking the law. You can't stop these people from breaking the law because they feel they're above everything else. They're so entitled and so much more special than everybody else. You honestly think you're going to keep them between two streets instead of going to the club? Not going to happen. Damian Lillard's 100% right.
Yeah, I mean, I agree as well. I think, these guys are adults. They're professional athletes. They're millionaires. They're going to find a way around it if they want to find a way around it. That being said, I think that out of respect for their teammates, I think out of respect for the league, I think that they can self-contain it. I think that there are going to be a couple that no matter what, a LeBron James says, or no matter what any type of leader on any team says, there's always going to be that one idiot who runs out and does whatever he wants to do. And he's going to be the one that puts the season at jeopardy, and he's going to be the one that has to answer to all the guys on the team. I mean, it's just like, I'm a military guy, I'm a Marine. It was the same way with us. There's always that one idiot in the platoon. But when there's that one idiot in the platoon, you deal with it in-house. And I think that that's how it's going to be. I think it's going to be a small sample size. And I think that's even if we get an NBA season, to be honest with you. I mean, with all the stuff going around, it's still out there that they may not have a season. I mean, you got some team just closed down their workout facility today. So it's not set in stone that they're going to play, but if they do, I really do feel like he's right in a way where it's going to be hard to contain, but I really do think that they can self-contain it.
Yeah, I'd love to put the same faith in these individuals as you do, but here's my problem with it, and I'm going to partner with Wayne here. I'm going to trust Damian Lillard, who is around them day in and day out and is a leader of a team, and when he says, hey, listen, guys aren't going to do this, I'm probably going to believe him a little bit more. I would love to believe that this can be a situation where they look at each other and go, hey guys, let's be smart about this. Let's think about this. This is a chance at an NBA title. We've got a real shot at something here. The problem is that the mentality in the sports athlete today is you get what you deserve. You are a grown-ass individual. You can do what you want because you are a superstar. And their agents pump it out to them how great they are. The teams that sign them, that want them to be able to play for them, and as opposed to the other 31 teams or whatever league you're in, how many teams are there. You're amazing. We need you on the team. They are told from high school to college to professional sports that how amazing they are in our current sports culture, and they get paid accordingly with that. If the playoffs were a quick type of thing, maybe I could see it. Maybe you could police it enough. You could put some stormtroopers out there who wouldn't hurt them but would shoot at them. Star Wars joke. You could do something like that to scare them to go back in the hotel. I just don't. I don't believe it. I think if Damian Lillard is saying guys aren't going to do this, guys aren't going to do it. Like I don't think that he is in any way being separate from the rest of these teams where you're going to end up having 160 people, and he knows them pretty well inside and out. You're going to have some people that break this.
But don't you think that was Damian Lillard's way of kind of throwing the warning shot out there to the guys who he thinks are going to do this? Kind of like, hey, you know what? We know you're going to do this. We got our eyes out, and some of us are smart enough to know that you're endangering us and you're endangering our families. So we're going to put a curb on this if we can get there, and we want the NBA to be more vigilant than they already plan on being, and they better kick this in the butt too.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, I don't think Damian Lillard's one that's ever short on words or not speaking his mind. I think he would come straight out and say that. His words were he has no faith. That's him putting it directly on the players. Now, could it be something where he's putting maybe a reverse psychology on these guys and their egos and going, man, I have no faith in you guys. And they're like, I'll show you, Damian, how good I am at sitting still in my room and absolutely not moving at all. Maybe that's the case. But I think if he flat out and maybe he did. I mean, we're taking a certain part out of context out of this conversation. The whole thing may have been a conversation that he added in later, the part of the NBA. I haven't heard the full clip to know where he calls on them to be able to be prepared to do more. Maybe that's the case. But I mean, if you gave me an over/under of 4.5 players that get caught outside that bubble, I am putting everything on the over. Like, there's just no way without, 160 players who have been able to kind of be home. And that's another thing. Remember, they've been home. They've been some players in some states where they've been able to kind of go around, per se. Like down here in Oklahoma, it's been a lot looser. There hasn't been many cases. Thunder players have been able to be a little bit more fluid where they go. But most of these guys have been locked up. They've been locked in their home. They've been locked in their home around their kids and all these other things, and having to repeat a process in a smaller arena when they're used to traveling the states and playing in front of a bunch of people, going where they want, doing what they want. You're telling me you're going to lock them in a bubble and it's going to be okay? Bubbles are made to do one thing. They'll look really nice and look really pretty, and then they all pop. And these guys, there's going to be guys in there that pop. I don't disagree with Damian Lillard. I have no faith. If he pulls some reverse psychology, give that man an extra reward this year if no one ends up going outside of it. But I think what you're going to find more of is teams finding out players went out and doing everything they can to cover it up. And I wouldn't be shocked if a year from now we're like, by the way, no one knows this, but these 40 players over the playoff time got out and their teams found ways to cover up for them.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing too was I didn't even realize this until the other night, but when I started looking at the schedules and what they're looking at doing, but their restarts for the NBA and the NHL too, they're not planning on ending this thing till September or October.
Right.
So their 2021 season's only going to be like 2 or 3 weeks away. Should they just scrap this 2020 season and worry about the 2021-22 season?
For the NBA, you need to ask LeBron. Let's be honest. Like, I've got a question to kind of counter that, and this kind of seems like I'm taking a rabbit trail, but let me ask you guys and see how much you think of this. If LeBron James and the Lakers were not, and we can agree he's the face of the NBA today, correct?
Yeah.
If they were not in the playoffs, if this was last season where they weren't even close to the playoffs, and he was not there today, do you think they would be pushing for there to be an end of the season and a champion crowned? No, I don't think so at all. I think what it comes down to is literally that. I think if LeBron is saying, I have a chance for a title, and they know, hey, this is the face of the NBA, and they've got an ability to put him on TV and get all the sponsors and everything like that, they're going to do it. I don't think they're not going to want to scrap it. Now, I think what could happen is, let's say LeBron and the Lakers do win it and they get done, and even though they've had this time off, they're exhausted. Then LeBron is going to do the same thing. He's going to go back to them and go, hey, listen, I know we're going to restart in Christmas, but with all this stuff going on, man, I'd really prefer a February callback. And I'm not saying LeBron runs the league, but he is the face of the league. And if he speaks on the behalf of the players, I guarantee you the league is going to do that and go, okay, we waited on that season. We can do a shorter next season and just be fine with it. And I think that's what's going to happen.
Right. And I mean, there's no doubt that these restarts are, money grabs by all the owners in every
100%.
league. Especially the NBA and the NHL. I mean, baseball's still in the middle. They never even got started. So them trying to start is understandable because they still can get, the 60-game season that they're talking about and then playoffs and then a World Series. But the NBA is usually done by now. The NHL is usually done by now. Mm-hmm. They're usually crowning a champion, in June. So then they have July, August off, and then they come back, preseason start in September, training camps and all that. And then their seasons typically start in October. So this is clearly just a money grab 100%. For them because they are pushing themselves right back into their following season. So yeah, I mean, I think it's clearly a money grab. I think you're right. I think LeBron definitely has a say in what's going to happen or what isn't going to happen. If LeBron, I mean, what was the guy who said, to be honest with you, let's be real. If LeBron says we're balling, we're balling.
Exactly.
And he was dead on with that. Mm-hmm. So the other thing that I want to think of with that in mind, with these restarts in the NHL and NBA, and we touched on this a couple episodes, Wayne, briefly. Do you think that their champions will even be celebrated the same way as a normal champion?
I think 100% so, by most people. There are several people who will say it's a hollow victory, or it shouldn't count as a victory, or there should be an asterisk next to it. Those people are idiots. As I mentioned several shows ago, the San Antonio Spurs got a 1999 championship after the lockout. It was a shortened season. They played, they win. There is no Michael Jordan, so there's one asterisk, and it was a shortened season. But there is no asterisk next to their championship because it's a legit championship. They still had to go through everybody. You still have the top 16 plus teams down in Orlando. They're still going to have to run the gauntlet of winning the playoffs. I don't care if they played 50 games in the regular season or 82. At the end of the day, if you go through the Clippers and you go through the Bucks, if you're the Lakers and you get the championship, you legit got a championship, and your championship ring is just as shiny and just as legit as the one that Kobe got in 2010.
But see, that's where I disagree with you. I think that whoever wins this championship, say the Lakers lose. Let's put this out there. Say, a team just a random team, what's a 4 seed team that could possibly win if they get hot and everybody else is injured, and they really don't really have a chance going into it, but they might. Say one of those teams wins, and the NBA especially, not so much the NHL, because I think the NHL every year, anybody who gets into the tournament is capable of winning. All you have to do is have a hot goalie and score a couple goals for him every night, and you can win the Stanley Cup. I mean, it's the most fun. I love watching NHL playoffs, but that's besides the point. The NBA playoffs, I think, will be celebrated differently here, especially if a team like the Lakers or the Clippers or the Milwaukee Bucks don't win it, and one of them outside teams ends up winning it and upsetting everybody. It's going to be said, well, I mean, come on. We stopped in the middle of the season. We stopped. And then we come back, and nobody really wanted to play. Everybody was in this bubble. Everybody was all tight. The excuses are going to start flowing. And I really don't think that the championship of this season, especially in the NBA, is really going to be celebrated, especially by the players, the same way that past champions have, who have gone through that grind of the 82-game season and then the playoffs all in one fell swoop, because they didn't have the 4 months off to rest in between the tournament. They had to go right to it. So I think the players aren't going to look at the winner of this thing the same way they would have had it been the same result at the end of a regular season.
I think that's true. And I'll let Chad jump in after this as well. But where I agree with you is if the Lakers lose. That's the only caveat. Because the people who will be saying that are the people who LeBron James puts that bug in their ear, the ESPNs and the Sports Illustrateds of the world. When people say LeBron James is not the greatest because he lost these championships, he failed to win in 2020. When that is brought up, LeBron James will have already planted the bug in people's ear that 2020 doesn't count. But if the Lakers do win, you're not going to hear that argument.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a leg to stand on with that argument. He comes out and says that. It's going to be like, well, I mean, come on. You had a chance to go get your team all healthy and rested, and you came back and still lost.
Well, it's going to be a leg for him to stand on just as much as it is anyone else. And that's the thing. It's kind of a two-way street for LeBron and any leader. I don't even want this to be a LeBron bashing hour, because we know that he's the face of the NFL. Let's look at Crosby or Ovechkin in the NHL, because we keep bringing them up, but we're not really talking about them. But it's the same thing in that aspect, is that any player is going to have the ability to load up, right? We've all gotten this. The 2020 year from hell, the Mayans got it wrong, but they were off a couple digits type of thing, right? Everyone is already in this mindset that, man, this year has been tough. And people are going to have a reason to complain no matter what. As a Patriots fan, let me tell you, it is so much fun to just hear about constantly why the 6 titles just don't count. I hear from people all the time. But guess what? They still count. It is still a championship. And to bring up what Wayne said, those rings on Brady's fingers are the same as everyone else's. As the one that Mahomes got last season, it is the same. People are going to still complain about it no matter what, that's fine. It's still legitimate because they still have to go up against other people. Sure, if you go up against the Nets in round one where they've got 0 people on their roster, yeah, you pretty much get a pass in that aspect because the situation's different. But at the end of the day, you win a championship. You still win a championship. There's not to be an asterisk. It was just a different circumstance. But no matter what, when you win it, people are going to complain. So is it legitimate? To me, 100%. Are people going to say it's not legitimate and are going to complain about it and bitch about it and everything like that? 100%. But to me, that's almost like any season in any sport right now, as it is, especially the last decade or two when it comes to fandom. We just like to complain when it's not our team. That's just the way it is.
Well, LeBron and Brady are different, though, right? I mean, because LeBron's not recording teams' defensive practices, and he's not deflating football, so his rings are a little bit more unarguable as they are for NFL fans.
No, because you've got the video of Brady doing that completely himself. That's amazing. Why haven't you stepped forward with that yet? Man, you would be the most popular man in the world if you had that proof. Aw, darn, you don't, do you?
All right.
On that note, game on.
Game on! Right.
He's wheeling, he's dealing. Whoa, he shoots, he scores!
We've come to this point in the show where we're going to play our game, Way or No Way. Chad, just so you know, so this is how it works. I'm going to read a series of statements, and then we're going to answer whether we believe it's way or no way.
No way! Yes way!
If you agree with the statement, it's way. If you don't agree with it, it's not. Or if you're like Wayne, you just hedge your bets and you say, well, it's kind of way and it's kind of no way. All right, so this past week we had Bobby Bonilla Day, where he gets paid $1.38 million until he's like 73 or something crazy like that. It's the greatest contract I've ever seen. So that being said, Bobby Bonilla had the greatest agent in the history of sports. Way or no way?
Way. I say way because not only is he going to get paid until 2035 from the New York Mets, he's also getting paid until 2035 from the Baltimore Orioles. So his agent negotiated both of those deals, basically putting the contract out to get more money. The thing that blows my mind, it's not that great of a contract. We're talking about $35 or $40 million over the course of 15 years. But the fact that it was supposed to be a 1-year, $5.9 million buyout, and it turned into a 15-year, $40 million deal, that's genius.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no way. Not because the deal itself isn't amazing. Like, we all know July 1 is Bobby Bonilla Day. Like, the fact that his name, there were my kids that are teenagers and under the age of 10, they know who Bobby Bonilla is because of Bobby Bonilla Day. Like, that's insane. But this is not because the agent was amazing, because if he was amazing, there would have been no option on the table for the Mets buyout. And that's the real audacity here, is the Mets chose to not buy out and faced this whole financial hole. And how you look at that and go, yeah, we can deal with that. Sure, you can handle it, but that's just terrible. It's more on the Mets than it is credit to Bobby Bonilla's agent. So I think the big agent right now is Patrick Mahomes' agent. Let's put it that way.
Well, I'm going to say way. I think Bobby Bonilla had the greatest agent in the history of sports. This deal is absolutely insane. He was at the tail end of his career. They're paying him. They were trying to buy him out, and instead they end up paying him until he's 73. I think the agent absolutely fleeced the Mets. It's a big sign of how bad that organization was run back then. And I laugh every year on July 1st when it's Bobby Bonilla Day, because I wish I could find a way to get a deal like that. He's absolutely the greatest agent in the history of sports.
Do you think he walks into like the same type of store and buys like the same type of cake every year on July 1st, and the everyone that owns the store are like, "Hey, happy Bobby Bonilla Day," and it's like the repeat celebration every single year?
I think his agent buys him a cake.
No, he needs to buy his agent a cake if that's the case.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we touched on this one earlier. Players opting out of sports restarts are jeopardizing their careers. Way or no way?
No way. They're jeopardizing a spot. They're not jeopardizing their career. There's two differences there. They have the opportunity to come in and play. the majority of them that are going to opt out are probably decently secure in not only their position, but an opportunity to have the ability to, even if someone is amazing and comes in and does amazing in the shortened season, but they're partly jeopardizing their spot. They're not jeopardizing their career. No way.
I agree with Chad. No way. The players like Mike Trout and Zimmerman and Ross and all these guys, and even if you took one of your hypothetical players who hasn't opted out yet, which is your guy who's on the fringe of being sent down to the minors, he's not jeopardizing his career. Like Chad said, he's just jeopardizing his season. He'll get a shot somewhere else, or he'll get a shot again.
I'm going to take a page out of Wayne's book here, and I'm going to say it's kind of way, but kind of no way. I think that when it comes to guys like, Bryce Harper, Chris Bryant, Javi Baez, the superstars of the league, there's no way. I mean, you're not jeopardizing your career. Maybe a guy comes up and shines great. Now that guy's trade bait. That's all that is for guys like that. But if you're taking a guy like, let's say David Bodie. If David Bodie opts out of the 2020 season, he's absolutely jeopardizing his career. I mean, this guy spent how many years in the minors without ever sniffing the major leagues, finally comes up. He plays all right, and he has a couple of great moments. He hit that walk-off grand slam with the Cubs a couple years back against the Nationals, and he had his moment. And, he's played subpar since, but he's an all right player. But if you opt out of the 2020 season and some guy comes and takes your place and outperforms what you've done over the last 2 seasons, nobody's going to take a chance on you again. You're old and you're not getting that chance. So for guys like that, the David Bodies of the league, I would certainly urge them to play, to do whatever they could to play. And I really feel like that's where you get your way out of this, is for those guys who aren't the superstars of the league.
So kind of like if you rate them from 10 to 1, the guys that are down towards the 1 are going to jeopardize more. I think I heard a really intelligent man kind of put that rating system out just a couple minutes ago. I think that's a win for me.
Moving on. All right, so Wayne, on your podcast, I heard you guys talking about Cam, and you and Dan's awful take that Cam doesn't improve this team. So that leads me to this next question. The Patriots picking up Cam Newton was to bury the story of them getting in trouble for cheating again.
No way. On a couple of fronts. One, Bill Belichick doesn't give a shit about getting in trouble. He doesn't care. He already went through Spygate. He went through the whole stupid Deflategate, and he wasn't fazed even a little tiny bit by it. He didn't think about it except for when he was being asked about it. He really, honestly, truly doesn't care, not even a tiny little bit. So that's one thing. And he's the one that makes all the personnel decisions, by the way. So that's one reason it's no way. The second reason it's no way is because Bill Belichick also loves a deal. He loves the fact that 2 years ago, Cam hurt his shoulder last year, but the year before that, he had his highest completion percentage of his career at 68%. He had a 24-13 touchdown to interception ratio and a 94.2 passer rating. Those were all career highs for him. So basically, he's getting Cam Newton, minus the injury, on the upswing, a former number 1 pick and a former MVP at his absolute best, and he's getting them for $500,000 guaranteed. Classic Belichick, has nothing to do with the whole scandal thing. And lastly, he needed a guy to push Jarrett Stidham. Jarrett Stidham was the de facto starter. He had Brian Hoyer. Everyone knew that was a joke that Brian Hoyer could even possibly push Stidham, who is a first-round talent, and I stand by it. Cam Newton will push Jarrett Stidham. I think he's going to lose the competition in training camp, but he is going to push him, and that's why Belichick picked him up.
Okay, here I am, hardcore Patriots fan. I bring this up all the time. 1 in 15 seasons, sitting in Foxborough Stadium on cold bleachers, praying for them to beat Jim Kelly and the Bills. They had a chance in the fourth quarter. It's snowing. It's terrible. Everyone else is a Cowboys and 49ers fan or Steelers fan where I grew up. And yet I was passionate. I have no care whatsoever when people want to put asterisk talk and cheater talk and all that stuff. All of that said, 100% way. The timing of them deciding to do this, I'm not saying that getting Cam, because it's a hell of a deal. How do you not do this? But if that was the true desire in that aspect, why aren't you, and if it was to push Stidham, draft someone. For the love of God, I watched that draft and screamed my head off whenever, especially Jake Fromm was sitting there, and there was zero desire, but they drafted a freaking kicker when everyone's like, they're going to obviously draft Jake Fromm. If that's truly your desire, you would have drafted someone that could have at least given you an equal playing field with Stidham to push one or the other in that aspect. There's no pushing in this aspect. I mean, Stidham, let's see what energy he has, but Cam has every reason to be the starter, but in a very team-friendly contract. They chose to do it at this time because, sure, Bill Belichick doesn't give two shits, but you know who does? Bob Kraft. Mr. Kraft cares about the image. He always has, and it's why he's tried to completely slide everything from his whole massage incident, kind of just push it away. He's tried to make sure things are always on the peaceful, on the up and up. He's come forward to say, hey, listen, we support our players in all these aspects. He cares about the look of things. And this they knew, here we go. We're going to have to deal with this again. Bill didn't give two shits, but Kraft did. And the reason why I fully believe they chose the timing when they did to make this happen is because the news of Cam Newton broke 10 minutes before this situation with the them getting penalized for the recording in Cincinnati. And yet, what does everyone talk about? No one even talked about it. It came up in a couple blips. Hey, this is what happened to the Patriots. No one talked about it. All we've talked about is what chance does Cam have? What is his ability for redemption? How does he and Belichick work? That's all anyone cares about. Bill doesn't give two craps, but you know darn well he's pretty happy that he doesn't have to sit here and answer these questions about the scandal with recording out in Cincinnati. So
well, see, and that's why I go no way with this one. I don't think there's any way that they did it because of the time. I thought that the timing of them signing him was awfully suspicious. I agree with you there, but I think they signed him to come in and be the starter. I don't think they signed him to push Stidham. I think they signed him because Stidham's not ready, and they don't believe Stidham's ready. I believe that he takes this team, like I said before, from a 6-10 team to an 11-5 team. Cam Newton, like you said, Wayne, I think you totally defunct your little thing there about Stidham starting, because you just said they're getting a former number one pick, a former MVP, on sort of an upswing, in a way. So if you're getting a guy of that caliber in an upswing, he's not going to sit behind Stidham. There's no way. So they signed Cam Newton to start. Cam Newton's going to start, and Cam Newton is going to lead that team and I'm sorry, Buffalo Bills fans, because you guys had this division wrapped up until they signed Cam Newton, but they signed Cam Newton because he can bring them back to where they want to be, which is at the top of the division, where they were with Tom Brady. And they lost, Tom Brady. They lost the greatest quarterback in NFL history. And what better way to go into a season than with another former NFL MVP?
Bills still win the division.
Bills still win the division, you said?
Bills still win the division.
Ooh.
No one talks about the fact that they landed Diggs. Come on. That's insane. Diggs isn't just with a chance to go up. He is up. And now you've got a guy like Allen being able to throw to him.
Yeah, but that Pats defense is sick.
They got tired at the end. I watched it at the end. We'll see. I think it's going to be close. I still think you get 1 and 2, and they both.
I hope you're right. I hate the Patriots, so I hope you're right.
Oh, I hate the Patriots. Good. I love it.
No, you know what? Let me rephrase that. I don't hate the Patriots. I hate their fan base. Fucking annoying.
Man, I can't wait to come back on your show. I feel so welcomed.
All right. So I was thinking about all these shortened restarts, and I started thinking about all the broken records of seasons past for all the sports, and especially baseball. And with only a 60-game season, you're not going to see that this year. We're not going to have anybody breaking anybody's 162-game record because it's just not going to happen. You don't have the time to do it. So then that brought me to this one, which is Cy Young's 511 wins is the most unbreakable record in sports.
No way. And when I first started thinking about this, there are a lot of records that seem unbreakable, like Wilt Chamberlain averaging 50 points per game, Wayne Gretzky's career 2,857 points. But all of those could be achieved by somebody who's just freakishly dominant that we've never seen before and might be coming up down the pike. We don't know. But the reason I'm saying no way is because you picked the wrong Cy Young record. It's 749 complete games. If you
You stole my thunder. You stole my thunder, Wade.
if you played 20 seasons and you were just the greatest pitcher ever, you played 20 seasons and win 26 games per season, which I know sounds unrealistic, that's 520 wins. But you'd have to pitch 37 complete games per season over 20 years to beat that record.
Yeah, I mean, I already echoed it. It's no way. It's not to say that 511 wins isn't insane, and I wouldn't be shocked if it's never touched, but the most untouchable record coming from Cy Young is the 749 complete games. When I saw that aspect, when I did my research, even as someone who loves Cy Young and have studied him, I didn't even realize that he owned that record. That is insane. That is more insane than the Celtics winning 8 straight in a row. It's more insane than Byron Nelson winning 11 straight PGA events. Heck, Bobby Orr, I got to bring my Bruins in here, plus 124 back in the early 70s. I mean, those are all amazing records, but no one is going to touch 749 complete games ever. In the history of MLB, that is the most untoppable record in sports.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I was coming in here to say way. That's the first time I ever heard that. Are you kidding me?
No.
749 complete games?
749 complete games.
Holy shit. Yeah, I didn't even know that. So for me, I was coming in with way because, like Wayne said, I mean, you have to win 26 games for 20 straight years to get to 520. No, I mean, for one, nobody's winning 20 games a year anymore because nobody's pitching that deep into games anymore. The win-loss record is kind of going out the window because pitchers are now not worried as much about win. Well, pitchers are, but managers are not worried about which pitcher gets the win as much as they are about winning ball games. It's not the same game anymore. It's not managed the same. And now we got, rules that are implementing where guys have to pitch to 3 batters and all this other stuff. There's no way anybody's going to win out 511 games. There's no fucking way anybody's ever coming to 749 complete games. Are you kidding me?
Yep. Insane.
Wow. Wayne, I think that might be the first time and only time you've ever taught me anything about baseball.
That's a win for you, Wayne.
Yeah, right.
Woo!
I'm used to it. Like I said, I'm like 255 million in 6, so.
Yeah. All right. So then Colin Cowherd came out and said something so stupid. I mean, surprise, surprise, right? The guy's a fucking awful. He said that Pat Mahomes was not a top quarterback, and equally as idiotic, Mike and Mike Man-Hour host Michael Buchheister says that Lamar Jackson is not a top 5 right now. So I ask you guys this. Michael Buchheister and Colin Cowherd have never watched a football game in their lives.
Well, with Buchheister, I'll say that he played safety for Kansas State, so he plays football. And I will say that the Lamar Jackson take, while I disagree with it, does make more sense than the Patrick Mahomes. I feel like you could make a case that Lamar Jackson is not a top 5 quarterback, and I could believe it because there's enough there to actually support that argument, even though I disagree with it. With Mahomes, the guy was an MVP 2 years ago. He won the Super Bowl last year. He throws for 50 touchdowns and 4,000 yards a year. He can throw the ball from every single arm angle that exists. He can throw it left-handed. There's no way that Patrick Mahomes not only is a top 5 quarterback, that he's a top 2 and not number 2.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say way because in both of these individuals, no way because both these individuals have people are going to hate me. I think they've had great takes on some different things, especially Cowherd. I think he has the balls to say some things sometimes that people don't want to. I think people hate it, but hey, I'm going to give him all the credit. He was dead on about Baker Mayfield coming into year 2 when people wanted to doubt Baker, and then he had a great season. People were like, holy cow, if he had come in earlier, if he had done this and everything, like, man, they would have brought him to the playoffs. Wow, Baker's got it. And he was just like, guys, no, here's all the reasons why, and he was right. He was right when the country was the complete opposite in how they're viewing it. So I don't disagree with Colin Cowherd a lot. So that's going to make you hate me even more. Patriot fan, I like Colin Cowherd. With that said, anyone that thinks that Patrick Mahomes is right now not only the face of the NFL, but one of the best players that we're going to see in our lifetime, they're fooling themselves. He's a D Ford offsides penalty away from being a back-to-back NFL champion, because we all know there's no way the Rams are going to touch the Chiefs in the Super Bowl if D Ford's not offsides. He is pretty much a back-to-back Super Bowl champ. Yeah, he had 2 interceptions in the Super Bowl last year, but he was the MVP. He led the comeback, and it was the same thing against the Texans and against the Titans. Everyone said it. They were like, he's going to come back. There was a single person watching those games, except for the fans of those teams, that were like, oh yeah, no, they're going to be just fine. They've got Patrick Mahomes. The fans of those teams were even internally going, please don't, Patrick. Please let this not be the day. Like, have an off day. Come on, let's not do this. We all saw those comebacks. He's one of the greatest players. I will give Colin a pass because he's amazing in his analyzations of things such as Baker Mayfield and others that have been afraid to speak up, but he's dead wrong at least about Patrick.
All right, so it's been close to an hour now, and I've already determined that you're out of your mind.
Nah, right. I can't wait to come back, baby.
Colin Cowherd belongs on the Mount Rushmore of sports takes, and it's not the good Mount Rushmore. It's the Mount Rushmore of guys whose sports takes I want to wipe my ass with after I take a shit.
You put those guys up on a mount?
Like, absolutely.
You put them up like, I respect these individuals. I put them up because they suck. Your whole
they're Mount Rushmore of worst sports guys in the history, and it's him, it's Jim Rome, and it's the loudmouth over there with Stephen A. Smith. I don't even want to say his name because he makes me want to kick babies.
Max
that guy
Kellerman
drives me nuts, and Colin Cowherd says, I threw Michael in there just because I wanted to throw a couple jabs at him. We've been going back and forth on Facebook a little bit. I actually like Michael a lot. He's definitely seen football before. He does have a horrible take with Lamar Jackson. It's not even Lamar Jackson's definitely a top 5 quarterback in the league right now. But I mean, Colin Cowherd's a moron.
Man.
Cowherd's a moron though. Cowherd, how do you not have Patrick Mahomes in the top 5 in your league right now? He's the Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, no, he's wrong. He's wrong. I didn't disagree with you. He's wrong about that.
And not only was he the Super Bowl champion, not only was he the Super Bowl champion, but he brought his team back from a 24-0 deficit against the Houston Texans, who have a pretty damn good defense. Then he goes to Tennessee, who just knocked off the Patriots. He comes back against them. Then he's in the Super Bowl, and he's down again, and he comes back against them. The guy does not lose. He's a proven winner, and if you don't have him in the top 1 or 2 in the NFL, you're an idiot.
Yeah, well, he was dead on about Lamar Jackson failing again in the playoffs. He called Tennessee beating them. He called the Patriots going to about 3 out of the next 5 Super Bowls when they went 3 out of 4. He was dead on about Baker Mayfield and falling flat on his face and the Browns not making the playoffs. Listen, he's an idiot on this take, but there's not a single sports broadcaster that I think is 100% on anything because they're out there with opinions. He has been far right more often than not. I don't think he gets credit when he comes out because of the way he comes out with things. People are just like, man, you are pompous in your attitude or the way you bring forth.
So
but he's been right.
So that was like me then. So he's so I used to take in every NCAA pool. I would always take every year in my bracket that I would choose and pay money to play and whatever. I would always take a 16 seed versus a 1 seed because I always wanted to be right when that 16 seed beat that 1 seed. And then when it finally happened, I must have been the smartest sports guy ever because I picked that 16 seed versus the 1 seed, even though I hedged my bets and did it every year.
You picked one example in the history of the NCAA to say that makes
I'm just telling you that that's what Colin Cowherd does.
I gave you a handful.
He has awful takes. He has awful takes, and then every once in a while, one comes through. What are you talking? Have you ever heard of the sun shining on a dog's ass every now and then? That's what it is. The sun is the times that he's right, and he's the dog's ass.
Well, when the sun is shining, it usually hits the top of mountains first, and seeing you stuck him on a Mount Rushmore, you'll be able to see him all the time. And I'll remind you why he's been more right than he's been wrong. So You put him up there, buddy.
All right, guys. All right, well, that's all the time we have for now. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and as always, you can join us on our Triple Shot Sports Facebook page on Twitter at 3 Shot Sports, and every Wednesday at 1 p.m. on the RTF Sports Network. We hope you guys have a great week. We'll be back bigger and better. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your enemies. Click, like, and subscribe.
I don't know what to say, really. 3 minutes. to the biggest battle of our professional lives, all comes down to today.
This game is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again. Oh, people will come, Ray. People will most definitely come.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. And that's what you have here. That's what you've earned here tonight. Their time is done. It's over.